My name is Tennyson E. Stead. I am a working screenwriter and a working script doctor, and welcome to The Right Stuff. This is the fifth and final lesson in our course on finishing your rough draft of your screenplay in 5 weeks. And obviously this is the week where we finish your script. When we left your character at the end of Act 2, they had inevitably destroyed their lives completely and eradicated any possible chance of success in their efforts to achieve whatever goal has been driving the story forward. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit word about motivation here, because the one thing that you want to avoid in this moment is making the third act a reaction to some other character who convinces the protagonist that they can't afford to quit. Characters need to be self-motivated, which means the motivation itself, the thing that's driving a character to achieve their goal, probably shouldn't be a reaction, because this is the point where they would learn that reacting to the world around you is not necessarily the most useful way to live your life. You know what I mean? If this is a revenge story, the John Wick problem, right? I mean, how long are we going to worry about this dog? I'm sorry about your dog, John. This is that point. And we need the character to be more driven than that. We don't want the character to... We don't want there to have to be some kind of external revelation just at the dramatically appropriate moment to keep the story going. We don't need to find out that the protagonist and the antagonist are somehow family members with each other or something, just to create some extra juice in the tank. What we need is a protagonist that believes in what they're doing. And the truth is that in life, most of the time, this is why important things happen. Important people in history don't overthrow bad governments because the bad government killed their father or did something to their family, or somehow there's like this very specific bad blood. Most of the time it's because people know that it needs to be done, and they know that no one else is going to step up, and they just refuse to live in the world where that doesn't happen. So you have got to tie into that for the sake of your characters. I understand that, rationalizing that kind of investment is something that we are encouraged to do in narrative, but it's not necessarily the best choice. Not for the audience, not for the character, not for the actor. You want to give that motivation to the actor. Let them dig deep enough to understand that will and that drive for themselves, whatever it happens to be. If you're writing a story about a comic just getting destroyed, who's not funny, trying to make it, why are you still getting on stage? What is wrong with you? Something's wrong with me. That's the thing. That's that drive exists. And it's simple, which makes it tricky to identify with. It's simple, which makes it hard to do well. But it's also more true for the effort. So tap into that, because here at the end of Act 2, your protagonist can't quit trying to do what they're trying to do. It's hopeless. They've destroyed everything. It's over. They can't let it be over. They have no idea how to proceed. That's true. They have no idea how to proceed. So they need to go look for an idea. Don't let someone come to them with an idea. Let them go looking for a way to move this forward. I mentioned earlier on, I've done a lot of work with people of faith. Not necessarily faith-based stories, but a lot of I've done a lot of work on memoirs, adapting them to the screen, this kind of thing. People who have a lot of faith. And finding those moments where people created this scenario for themselves in the text and acknowledging their accountability, and then saying, what did you look for to dig your way out and find some way forward when there just wasn't any chance of finding one. And a lot of people, of course, will say, I talk to God first thing. Like, what else are you going to do? If you don't have that, you find something else. You find some way of finding a place to start the new approach. And you may not know what that new approach is. You may have to invent it or find it. That process is going to involve letting go of all the preconceived notions, all the things about yourself that you thought were so important that you were trying to preserve. In doing what you're going to have to detach your idea of success, your protagonist's idea of success in achieving this goal with their idea of who they are. Those two things are going to have to become separate things so that they can throw away their idea of who they are in order to accomplish this goal. Because they're going to have to become someone different, because who they are is not doing it. They have to become someone completely different. And that effort to change, that effort to become this different person in order to do the thing that they know is so necessary for the world or themselves or whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish, that's what makes the performance inspiring to watch. Spectacle is the effect of seeing people do things we didn't realize people could do. And the one thing that people are always underestimating is each other. So if your character hits this point and finds a way forward, in spite of the fact that when you were writing the end of Act 2, you had no idea how it was even possible that this character could find that way forward, then seeing them do it is going to really hit audiences really hard. You can't afford to work around that. You don't want to work around that. You want to work through it and give that to them. So, there's a number of different ways that this can go. They're going to have to become a different person. They can reframe their goal in terms of what success looks like without all those preconceived notions. Then they're going to have a different path to success, a very different path to success. It might, as long as it achieves the original goal, the core of the original goal. What you don't want to do is diminish the original goal. If they're trying to change the world, you don't want to settle for like changing one tiny little corner of it, unless changing that one little corner of it is the first step in their efforts to actually change the larger world. You see what I'm saying? If they're trying to make one person's life better, then they need to make that person's life better, not in the way that they think it needs to be better, but in the way that person needs it to be better. Reframing our definition of success is something we oftentimes only do for ourselves when things are really, really bad, because we've lost the ability to achieve that previous definition of success. But you don't want to diminish the stakes of the story in doing so. So, making something, reducing the scale of the effort is not an option. You can increase the timetable of the effort and let them take more measured steps towards that goal, knowing that it's going to take a lifetime instead of 6 months. That's something you can do. So, from the moment all is lost to the moment they finally stop trying to achieve their goal, either because they've achieved it or because they're dead or whatever, that is the third act of the story. Okay? What does your protagonist need to do? And soul searching could be a thing that they need to do. Redefining themselves, learning basic skills, whatever. What do they need to do? Make a list of the things that they need to do to move their efforts from the point where they have nothing to the point where they stop trying to achieve their goal. Make a list of the things that they need to do to make that happen. and then write the scenes where they do those things. It is very, very tempting to put rewards in the story for the characters who participated in it. It's very tempting to create passive breaks for the protagonist. One of my biggest pet peeves in the Act 3 of just about every science fiction, every dystopian science fiction film you're ever going to watch is that the protagonist, right after they discover things are as bad as they can possibly get, also discovers that there's a secret army of punks living in the sewers of whatever city we happen to be talking about, standing by and waiting for a leader. And that only happens so that the director, well, it happens because science fiction comes from literature, and it works in literature. It's fine. It's thematically a shortcut to allow the protagonist to discover their leadership capabilities. I get that. And in the film, it gives you the opportunity to have a much bigger battle at the end of the movie and increase the scope. And I get that too. But it doesn't work from a narrative. It's so stupid. The story of the person building the army is so much more interesting than the story of the person who just shows up. So don't do that. Don't hand the protagonist help. Let them figure out if they need an army to succeed in their goal, if that's where things are at. Film is beautiful in the sense that time dilates. If they need an army, let them build an army. Show the hard work, show the effort of building that army, so that we can see the resilience and the resourcefulness of that effort. We can see them taking accountability. We can see all that thematic stuff is going to be locked up in the effort that it takes to actually achieve that goal. And you can make jumps in time. You can show 10 years passing in 10 minutes if you want to. So don't cheat. Don't give things to the protagonist. Let them do the work. And we will see how much they've grown and how much they've learned by the fact that they're actually going through with it. They're clearly taking a much longer view towards their goal now. That is a thing that's changed about them. Let the efforts of the characters to achieve their goals speak for themselves. Don't jump in and create situations that they can respond to in order to show us who they are or who they've become. We're going to have some videos on how the rewriting process works. This is just the first step. But this is how you arrive at a structured screenplay that jumps off the page when you put it in the hands of a bunch of actors. And frankly, it's a process you can apply to any story, any scope, any emotional scale. This is what actors do, and this is how we empower those actors as screenwriters. Thank you very much for being a part of this process. Thank you for caring about the work that we do and the degree to which we empower our actors and our directors and the other people that we work with. And please check out some of my other videos. I'm going to be posting videos on how to get through the show Bible and pilot script of a 60-minute drama. We're going to talk about 30-minute comedies. We're going to have courses on both of those, and we're going to have a whole smattering of videos on a number of issues that writers encounter in their work. So please explore the site. Please stick around because there's going to be more content coming every single month. Thank you for being here for The Right Stuff. I look forward to learning with you. Take care.